Now it's a debate. You know, just about every parent at some point sits down and faces this one. How many children should we have? One-child families are
15.
On the rise. 15, says Juju. There's my only daughter there, but it's a discussion we're having at our house, the Chang household
Shapiro
as well.
household, there it is.
There, you've got 2. You're thinking about 3.
That's the playhouse at our home.
Where do you stop?
It turns out, you know, that more and more Americans are stopping at just 1. The average American woman, 1.9. It turns out, though, that the number of one-child families has more than doubled in the past 20 years, up 10% from 23%, up to 23% rather. And the survey suggests that the #1 reason why people are having a second child is what Angela Weir is thinking at home, to give the first child a sibling. So is that all bad? Well, maybe not.
Are only children really spoiled? Numerous studies show empirically only children are not more spoiled than kids with siblings. Professor Tony Falbo has been studying only children for 30 years.
The stereotype is very negative, that they're selfish, lonely, maladjusted. But in fact, when we study them more closely, that they don't seem to live up to that bad reputation.
But what about the myth that only kids are smarter? Research suggests they may be. Perhaps because they're read to more often, only kids tend to have better verbal skills. They even get higher IQ scores.
I think that it's more likely that only children get pressured more to achieve because the parents want their kid to do well.
But children from larger families have some advantages too. Siblings are often each other's best friends and tormentors. That complicated relationship teaches an important skill: conflict resolution.
To me, the best reason to have a second child is because you really want a second child, not just to prevent some kind of possible harm that might be happening.
Just when you think this is a decision to be made with your heart and not your head, consider your wallet. 2-parent families, on average, will spend $185,000 on a child from birth to age 18. Double that for 2, and so on and so on.
Well, whether it's one child or multiple children, figuring out just how many works best, big issue. Many families face it. And here to help us and parents out there make the decision, Dr. Susan Newman, a psychologist, best-selling author of the book, Parenting an Only Child. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good
Thanks
to be
for being here. So I guess you go with what you know. I was an only child till 17, and I loved it. You had sister.
I had 5 kids.
Five
Five kids in our family. I was the ignored middle child, which is why.
So do you find in your research that it's the expectation is set by your own history?
It's set by your own history because you don't really know what another family's like, so you think what you had is the best. Or if it was terrible, for example, one person I interviewed was had 7 siblings. He was the oldest, and he was in charge of the baths. He was in charge of being sure they got to bed. He said, no way. And he has an only child. So you could have a backlash. But in general, you like what you grew up with. It's what you know you feel comfortable with, and you want to duplicate it.
Obviously, this is a profoundly personal question as to how many children, but I find it's a point of conflict between spouses. Often, like, I think, well, more the merrier, chaos is good, and my husband's like, no, we're going to be outnumbered. Keep it to 2 boys, it's perfect. There's an awful lot of testosterone in our family
You're
right
going to
now.
have to go to a team zone defense if you have another one.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you're wagering you're going to have a girl, and you can't do that because sometimes you get 4 boys, you get 4 girls. Don't count on it.
Yeah, you know, my argument, my wife is going on emotion. She has a sister, but it's the emotion of wanting to be a mommy again so much. And I'm all about the logic involved in this decision, right? That things are great the way they are right now. Why mess it up? Why triple our work? Because it's exponential, the work.
Oh, absolutely. Yes? 2 or not twice as much work. They're 3 times as much work, and 3, you're quadrupling or more.
How does that happen?
Well, because you need to spread your time more, and you're reducing your couple time for sure.
I love the
that's
idea
a factor.
that when you go from 2 to 3, you're creating a middle child, and that's a problem that you really have to focus on.
Absolutely, because the middle child doesn't have the privileges of the older child, isn't babied like the baby, and there you have this middle child caught with nothing, no privileges, no special attention. So parents need to focus and say, okay, I really have to pay attention to this middle child.
And for those who argue that it's companionship for the little one, I would argue that you could have a Cain and Abel. They could hate each other.
Oh, from the minute a new baby arrives in the house and the older child's dethroned, that's the nucleus of sibling rivalry. And as you probably know, it can go on for decades and a lifetime. And you can be best friends. You don't know what you're going to get, so you have to be careful.
I see it goes from night to day in a blink of an eye, though, because one minute they're playing beautifully and they're each other's best friends, and the next thing you know, it's World War III.
Yeah, what it really boils down to is that the two partners have to decide what they want. You can't be influenced by the Joneses or having their fourth child. You have to say, okay, do we want a calmer household? What can we afford? Because if you're a happy parent, it's not the number of siblings, it's your parenting style that really affects the outcome of your child.
And finally, your science on the only children out there, those of us, we're not completely maladjusted, self-centered idiots? Or,
Absolutely
okay,
not.
good.
That's 1800s research that was really flawed, and it's quite the opposite. With all the parenting information available, only children, when you do these tests and new tests, do very well. They're happy, they're well adjusted. They're no different than, they have a slight edge academically and a slight edge in happiness department long term, but they're just the same as any other child with siblings.
Yes.
I just want to say something, Angela. There are now 3 in this marriage, and I'm voting with you.
Oh, see?
Done.
I'm rooting for Angela, too.
How can I? Yeah, well, let's face it, it's an argument I will lose.
Don't be pressured.
No,
You're
no.
being pressured. Outside influence.
I'm coming over to that side as well. But you've helped us decide here, and hopefully you as well, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll just take one of your boys, and you can have another.
Okay, fine. Tell that to Gail.
It's a loaner system.
Exactly. Thank you, Dr. Newman. We appreciate it.